Hello everyone. Today we are in conversation with Tiya Chatterji, author of Horrors of the Sea. Let's begin the interview. What sparked the idea for your book? Can you share the inspiration behind it?
Hi everyone, my name is Tiya Chatterji. I'm a marine archaeologist, author and a scuba diver. Being a marine archaeologist and a history person, I've always been interested in history and heritage, be it tangible or intangible. So it has always excited me, and preserving the same has always interested me. Now specifically I'm talking about we Indians, we do not value our history and heritage as much as we should be doing. And I think part of the reason is also because we are not aware of it. So the first reason, for writing this book is definitely spreading awareness, which is also the reason that has led me to do whatever, I've been doing otherwise. And it is also to document these supernatural myths and legends in a very fun way. So that more and more people can get connected to it and can appreciate it better.
When writing your book, what were the biggest challenges you faced and what helped you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge was doing justice to these myths and legends because I think, already there are different versions that exist, across the coastal areas, which I have spoken about, in my book. So I think doing justice and recreating something. So when we are recreating something from the original version, there's definitely a lot of pressure. So that's one. And I think how I overcame it was by doing research. So there's no shortcut. So it has to be research, and a lot of research. So I did a lot of research online, available books, also, traveled, got in touch with people. So a lot of informal interviews, and that really helped me, to infuse my creativity while also preserving the authenticity and the originality of these stories, while also not getting very close to the existing versions or the existing stories. So I had to do justice to the stories, stay unique, infuse my creativity, but at the same time, I had to ensure that it was not like, it was not copied with something that was already existing.
What are your primary hopes for readers who engage with your book?
So I don't know if it is going to sound too ambitious if I say that I have a lot of hopes, but definitely as an author, I think the first and foremost is that I want my audience to connect to our beautiful coastal India. I am sure this exists elsewhere also, but particularly if I talk about being in Delhi, I have been living in Delhi for the last, I think, 18, 19 odd years. And here, when we talk about coastal India, if you ask people about the beaches, where is a beach, people say Goa. Goa is the only thing which comes to their mind. But coastal India is beyond Goa. And we are a maritime nation, and we should definitely, be aware of our geography, such beautiful geography, and the amazing history and heritage that is located, associated with it. So yes, definitely that's also an aim to not only introduce these stories, have a backdrop of, different areas, different locations of different states in coastal India. So I think my aim is to, intrigue the audience enough, so that they can actually plan a trip, go explore, learn more, and definitely, appreciate, our coastal geography, its history, heritage. And yeah, I would be really happy if I can definitely, if I can achieve that through this book.
Could you elaborate on your journey as an author? What motivated you to start writing, and how has it evolved over time?
I can't really, pinpoint an aspect or a factor which actually intrigued me or interested me enough to write, but I was always the dynamic kid, hyperactive child, and I think I am the same. And I used to read a lot, and I was engaged in a lot of activities, and I was very, very imaginative and creative. I think, and somewhere all of, those activities, those readings, kind of aggregated into writing. And I basically started writing when I was, I guess, 12 or 13 years old, and so I also write poetry, and I started off with writing poetry, and then, you know, stories, short stories basically. But the fun part here is that I never shared it with anyone. So there were like a really few people. So I'm a very social person, but I don't have a lot of friends. So, you know, I can just count them on fingers. So there were actually very few people who knew that I write. And it's very funny because writers or people who wrote poetry or poets, they did not have a very good impression. You know, they were like, I don't know, I don't feel personally that it's still changed, because the moment you say somebody that you're an author, so, you know, the second question they ask you is like, how do you make money? Especially in India. So, you know, we are considered jobless or something. So that tag was somewhere which really bothered me. And of course, I'm talking about, you know, when I was much younger. And so people didn't know that I write, and then I got into academics, and I got into writing, but it was research papers, articles, or, you know, my first book, that's an academic book. So it was all mostly academic writing. And also then later on, what happened when I actually even started thinking of trying a different style of writing. So I was told that I should have a pen name if I want to write poetry. So I write poetries on my Instagram. Then I kept a pen name called Adzi. I kind of find it funny, I still use it though. And that was because people made me believe that since I do academic writing, now since I have a book published, which is an academic book, you know, I shouldn't probably indulge in fiction writing or publishing poetry and things like that, because I might not be considered, I will not be taken seriously. So it's kind of sad when I look back. I actually kind of caught up in all of that, and every time I wanted to pursue a non-academic writing, it really kind of, you know, scared me. I think, yes, and definitely it's because of the tag, because, you know, we it's also because a person who does multiple things, you know, it's mind boggling for people, and I understand where they come from. But I think we are no longer in the stone age. So, you know, people expect you to be like just a doctor or an engineer, but, you know, not a marine archaeologist who's also into the defense business, but who's also writing fiction, maritime fiction. So, you know, that is also something. So I think it's all about this perception, the tags, and I got caught up into it. But thankfully, with the support of those close friends that I have, who would do peer reviews for me, they really encouraged me. And finally, I just thought I would take a leap of faith, and I just thought that what would I have to lose, and that's when I decided that I'll come up with my debut fiction book.
What aspects of writing fiction do you find most captivating or enjoyable?
So writing fiction is not actually, fiction is not created out of thin air, as opposed to I think popular beliefs. Lay people, they think, you know, fiction can be just created. Fiction writing requires a lot of research, and it also requires a lot of experiencing. Experiential learning is also in vogue these days. So, you know, it is something like, how can I write about seas if I actually haven't seen one? So, you know, the reality, the authenticity, or the depth that you all enjoy while reading a book, or while watching a movie, that all comes from a lot of research and a lot of experience, and definitely added with the vivid imagination of the author or the creator who's actually creating those stories or narratives or visuals. So it involves, definitely it involves meeting a lot of people, and a lot of traveling. Specifically, in case of Horrors of the Sea, I extensively traveled across, the coasts, and met a lot of amazing and interesting people, and then, building up the characters. I think all of that is really fun, and it was definitely very, very enjoyable while I was writing this book.
Could you share your connection with the sea and oceans? How have they influenced your work?
So, being a marine archaeologist, and specifically after I learned scuba diving, I think my connection with the oceans and the seas it has deepened. And although before all of this actually came into my life, I still admired the oceans and the seas, but from a distance. But because of these two aspects connecting, with with my life, I think the connection with the oceans and the seas has definitely deepened, to understand them, the flora, the fauna, the people that live around, the stories, the heritage, the intangible cultural heritage, and also how people living there earn their livelihoods, what's their connection with the oceans and the seas. So I think definitely it has broadened my horizon, and I think there's a very strong connection that I feel when it comes to the oceans and the seas. And they have greatly influenced my present work, Horrors of the Sea, because these stories are the knowledge that I have accumulated over various travels and my experiences and interactions with the locals, all over the places that I visited, and definitely then later on infused with my creativity. So I think definitely they have heavily influenced this book of mine.
If you could offer advice to your younger self when you were just starting as a writer, what would it be?
I think the advice would be to look for genuine advice, because there are a lot of people who might just pretend to be your friends or your well-wishers, but they might actually not, or sometimes advice would actually not be that fruitful, because they might actually not know much about the knowledge that you're seeking. So I think getting good genuine advice is really important. And I think also I would like to say, embrace your authenticity, and your independence. Don't just get caught up in tags. Writing is very subjective. Everyone has a different style of writing. Not everyone would like reading what I write, and it's similar with all other forms of writing and even art per se. I don't think everybody has to like everything. So don't get caught up in tags. And I also believe, in my case, I think I should have started early, but I got caught up too much in what people made me believe, and I got caught up again, as I said, too much in tags. So I wish if I started early, things would have probably been different, because I was also very afraid of failure. And I don't think we should be afraid of failure, because it's a part of life. It has to happen. You have to fail, because only then you would learn, in most of the cases. So I think just don't be afraid of failing. Failing is a part of life. So even if you fail, just embrace failure, and learn from it, embrace it, learn from it, and just move on.
Writing process, what do you find to be the most demanding or challenging stage?
I think the biggest challenge would be to convert an idea into something tangible. I say this because we have a lot of ideas that come up, and not every idea is actually worth pursuing. So to have the ability to judge and to have the knowledge that which idea is worth pursuing is, I think, it's really challenging. And to then, once you select the idea and then to convert it into something tangible again, is a challenge. And although, as I mentioned, writing is very subjective, and everyone has very distinctive style of writing and storytelling, but to write it in a manner, to weave the words into a tapestry that connects with the audience, that strikes a chord, is extremely important, irrespective of the genre that you're writing for. So I think that is a must. It is a must if you're an author, and it's also a challenge, while you're actually doing it, that you're writing it in a manner which connects to the audience.
Which section or aspect of your book presented the greatest difficulty when you were writing it?
I honestly can't think of a particular section, but I think writing horror in general, involves when you're researching or when you're talking to people, you're going through a lot of written material, you're watching horror movies or documentaries or visuals. So there's a lot of consumption of, information which is not very pleasant. It's scary, or it's disturbing. So there's a lot of disturbing content that you're ingesting or subjecting your mind to. So I think that's one. And at one point of time, I got so engrossed into the manuscript in totality that I was dreaming about it. I was having, not nightmares per se, but really disturbing, dreams. And I also started hearing things at one point of time, and I could rationalize that it's just because I'm reading and I'm writing and I'm watching the same things, trying to find inspiration when I was hitting a dead end. But I think, yeah, that was when things really got scary, when it started impacting me so much. So I think that was really scary. And I think what happens is, we get too involved in with our characters, with our manuscripts. So I think every creator, not even an author, every creator needs to know, in up to what depth they should actually go in terms of the character or the script, and when to actually, how deep to go, and when to stop yourself, and when to come out of it, how to take yourself out of it. Otherwise, this may sound really absurd, but sometimes you get really close to the characters that you're building, or that you're writing about, or you're creating. So irrespective of the genre that you're writing or creating about, you need to have the knowledge, when to stop and when to actually come out of it.
On a lighter note, which part of the book brought you the most joy and satisfaction during the writing process?
This is a very fun question. I find writing really empowering, and it's really, it makes me at least feel really powerful. And it is because it gives it, although despite occasional criticisms and everything, it does make me feel empowered, because it gives you the freedom to work around your characters. So whatever the script demands, you can actually create those characters, and you can make them do whatever you want to. I know this sounds really weird, but that's how I feel, and I think it's quite a relatable feeling. And especially when you actually relate too much to a character. So there are certain characters that we can relate more to from the others. So when that character is seeking vengeance or justice, or something like that, it's it's really fun, and it's really enjoyable. And with respect to horror, there are studies which talk about why people actually watch horror movies. And one of the reasons why maximum people, the majority of the people watch horror movies, is because it allows them to live those dark sides. We all have dark sides, and of course, I'm not saying that we should we can't really live those dark sides, because we are bound in a society, and we are good humans, we are civilized. But while we are watching those horror movies, and while we relate to a particular character, or while we are reading something, we can actually live those dark sides of us, that we don't really acknowledge, but it exists within all of us. So yeah.
Have you aimed to challenge any specific perspectives or beliefs through your...
I don't feel I'm really in a position to answer this question, but just I'll answer it just for the sake of, because you asked me that question. I feel that clubbing all the subgenres of horror, or allied genres of horror into one bracket and treating them as one is something which I really don't appreciate, because all of them are really different and have to be treated differently. And also I feel this stereotyping stereotyping is really bad about anything, but here we are talking about writing and horror. So I think this the stereotyping about the characters that exist in horror stories, or horror movies, and how they look like, or how they behave, so or how horror novels or stories should be written. So I think stereotyping around them is it's not great. And I also think that this belief of using really complex words to narrate a story is also something that I really don't believe in, because of course every author writes according to a set target audience that they are targeting it. But even having that in mind, I think this belief that if a book has really complex English and really ornate words, it's going to be a really great read. I think we really need to move over that kind of thought process. So these are some things that definitely I think needs to change.
Were there any particular books or authors who inspired you to pursue a career in writing?
I loved reading since a very young age, as I mentioned earlier during this interview, and it would be really unfair if I would just name like one person. So I mean, the most authors, like the books that I would read of were Ruskin Bond, J.K. Rowling, Enid Blyton, and we would Hardy Boys, Sidney Sheldon, Agatha Christie. So definitely they inspired me. I used to love reading their books. But I particularly can remember that one day I was reading Malgudi Days, and I was a very, very imaginative kid. I still am. So not a kid though, but imaginative. And I was reading Malgudi Days, and I just sat up and I thought that I can also write. I can also write a story, and I attempted to write a story. And after that, I showed it to my class teacher, and she really appreciated it. So that was really, really, it boosted my confidence, and I thought, okay, why not? And she told me, you can just keep getting better, and this is something, when people ask me, writing is something that you keep better. So the more you do, the more you practice, the better it gets. So that was like my stepping stone, and then I started writing. But of course the secretive writing again, and then the academic writing, and here I am today. So I think this happened thanks to my friends, and definitely I think my own kind of barrier that I could walk across, and to finally take a leap of faith, because I just felt that why not, so let's just go for it. So thank you everyone for listening to my interview and the story behind writing my book Horrors of the Sea. So this is Horrors of the Sea. It has 15 short eerie stories that are located at the backdrop of the beautiful coastal India, and so these are based on supernatural myths and legends of India. So this book is available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle versions, and thank you also to my publishers, Aakar Publications. You can also visit their website, so you can purchase this book from their website as well. So do give it a read, and if you like the book, please drop a review. Thank you so much.